Hi, my name's Jon Burton. I'm the front of house sound engineer for the Prodigy. We're here in Wembley today. We're doing 2 nights as part of the British tour for the new album Invaders Must Die. And I've just come to talk to you about what I'm doing with TC PowerCore and various sort of TC bits and pieces. I had a bit on the website a few years ago when I first started working with TC, and to be honest, not much has changed since then. But I thought I'd do a quick recap. For the live show, what I'm doing is I'm using a lot of VST plug-in effects just to make it easier, make it so I've got a more compact effects rack. When I first started off doing this, I needed to use lots of sort of distortion pedals and things like that. So what I then decided to do was, because that got a bit cumbersome carrying all these pedals around, was to try and do it with VST plugins. I'm using Ableton as a VST to run the VST plugins as kind of a shell by just basically dropping a channel into record, which then routes audio from the mixing desk into the computer. As you can see here, I've got an audio damage fuzz box which I'm using through one of the 24/7C limiting amplifier to make this kind of really squashy, dirty, distorted sound, which I used on Keith's vocal for a couple of songs. That's working really well. I mean, before I had to use I used to use an old MXR distortion pedal, which just plugging the jacks in, changing the batteries just got too much. This is a much simpler way of doing it. So I'm routing, so if I just take it up to the mixing desk, I'm routing off the Keith's vocal, and I'm sending it out on the max end, and it comes back in on my Mac channels here, and I bring it back into the desk, and then it goes to stereo and comes out the big speakers down the far end for all the punters who hopefully will be having a good show. You're probably wondering where the PowerCore is. The PowerCore's around the back of the rack here. I'm using a compact so that if we're doing small shows I can actually stick it in my bag and just go with like a small portable effects rack. So in the back of my rack I've got, it's a really tatty looking untidy rack, it has to be said. We've been on tour sort of non-stop for a couple of years now, so the gear hasn't been fixed for a long time. So I've got a PowerCore strapped in the back here. I've got an M box which I'm using as an audio interface for one computer, and I've got a RME Hammerfall which I'm using for a second laptop. Up here, just to show what kind of nice clean gigs, this is my Behringer controller which I've been using to run all the MIDI plugins. So I've got me dub delay here, I'm using this for harmonizer, and I can just drop straight into record by latching in, and that usually lives on the desk by the side of me during the show. So I'm using various sort of plugins from TC. On the new album I'm using kind of a reverse thing, a song called Take Me to the Hospital, which I'm also using on Keith's vocal, which gives me that kind of reverse reverb sound, trying to emulate the sounds of the album. So a very easy way of doing it. I've also got a couple of other TC effects in here. I've got an old D2 delay, which is just a really good workhorse delay. I always use it. I've got a foot switch pedal, which I just stomp on during the show just to get the time. And then I've got an old M2000 which I'm using for all the vocal reverbs. And that's about it. Thanks so much. Bye.